want to talk about one of the huge movers in the market today, and that, of course, was AMC. Shares closing up just over 100%, hitting an all-time high earlier today of 72.62 a share. So to help us make sense, or try to make sense, I should say, of some of the action that we've seen lately in this name, we want to bring in Alicia Reese. She is of Wedbush Securities. And Alicia, this crazy surge that we've seen in this stock recently is not only AMC, but it's been a number of the meme stocks. But first, let's focus on AMC. You cover the stock. Help us make sense, or I guess, what's your big takeaway of the recent action that we've seen in this name?
Well, it's not based on fundamentals, so it's not something we can predict as closely as we have been able to predict it in the past. Looking at the fundamentals, it would normally trade between 7 and 9 times 23 consensus EBITDA. Right now, it closed at 43, 44 times that. The enterprise value has more than doubled since yesterday, and that was extremely high compared to where it's normally trading. So we have a pretty big disparity. When that comes down, or whether that stays up or continues to rise, is your guess is as good as ours.
So, you deserve credit, because in your note of May 24th, you actually said to your clients, and I'm going to quote you, "We do not recommend buying shares of AMC here, as we think its share price no longer reflects its fundamentals elevated by retail investors whose time horizons for holding are unclear." I mean, that's almost 2 weeks ago. And yet
Yes.
We've seen a surge in that 2-week period. Is there, it's almost as I want to say there's some nefarious entity that's pushing these perhaps less skilled retail investors to take on risk that they're just not prepared for what could be a very big loss?
Well, I think if you look at the Reddit boards, they're encouraging each other. They think it's a really good investment, and by all means, at the moment, it is. They've doubled, tripled, quadrupled, or more their initial investments, and they want it to continue rising. They believe in the company. The CEO is communicating with them directly in his press release today. He made it very clear that he cares about this investor base. And at last count, it was 80% of the investor base was retail investors. It's probably higher than that now. So it's unclear how long this is going to last, and the fact that the CEO and the company is very engaged with these investors means that it could be a while.
It's interesting when you take a look at the announcement that was made connecting with investors, a new platform that they're going to have, some of the, perks that go along with it. You could get free popcorn, you could get exclusive movie screenings. Is this something that you view that will register, with an investor? Because when you take a look, an investor is very different than someone who loves to go to the movies all the time. It doesn't always go hand in hand.
Sure, I think that's true with institutional investors, sure, but these retail investors, many of them are within that fanboy fan base that go to these movies, especially, your big IMAX or Dolby screen movies, and they see these, the Marvel films, all the films that play really well in theaters. This is the fan base. And so these people are actually moviegoers. And that's why they believe in this company. It's because they're ready to go back to the movies.
Wouldn't AMC need their approval, the approval of shareholders, if it wanted to introduce even more stock into the market? And dilute what's already out there?
Well, it seems as though a lot of these retail investors are willing to buy more. They're encouraging more people to buy more shares. So I think they would be willing for it to be diluted a bit further, not tremendously, sure. But I do think that they're willing to dilute the shares a little bit more to give AMC the money that they need to perhaps grow. The amount of growth they'll get out of that by buying more theaters or going back to their prior growth strategy of upgrading the European circuit and then expanding in the Middle East can get them only so far. The peak EBITDA that we have seen would be $1 billion. Prior to the pandemic, they got close to $1 billion, and that was their long-term goal, but they still haven't reached it. Whether or not they can remains to be seen. If they take on some more theaters and upgrade the theaters in Europe, like I said, and expand in the Middle East, it's possible.
Alicia, what's fair value, do you think, for the stock today?
Our price target takes into account pretty aggressive domestic industry box office results. as well as in Europe. And we put a pre-COVID peak multiple of 9 times our 23 estimate, and that gets us to $6.50. It's, clearly trading significantly higher than that now. So, that will continue, it seems. But we do expect significant volatility. We don't expect it to come back to our price target in the near term, but we do think it eventually will.
Almost a $60 difference there in terms of what you think is fair value for the stock and where it closed at today at 64.87. Alicia, great to speak with you. Thanks so much for jumping on with us.